Stay down. Final warning.
I could do this all day.
Hey everybody, what's going on, and welcome to a very special edition of the Fan Splash podcast. Today we are going to be doing a review of Captain America's Civil War. We saw it premiere night, and we are joined today with a very special guest, my good friend Scott Fox. Say hi, Scott.
Good morning.
And then also Tyler Hall. And then I am, of course, the host, Jesse Swift. So I think we all had a really good time with the movie. And there's a lot we want to do, and we're going to steal an idea that I saw from, if anyone's familiar with Tyrone Magnus, he calls it the mullet reviews, meaning that review in the front, spoilers in the back.
Sure.
And I kind of want to follow that same...
No, we have to be completely original. Batman uses guns.
Oh, sorry, my guest, Zack Snyder. Okay, so I want to kind of kick things off with the non-spoiler thing. I'm thinking I'll probably put... we'll separate the video, so when we get into spoilers, you don't have to worry about getting spoiled in this video, but keep an eye out for our spoiler review once you have seen the movie. I want to start things off. It's not as obvious because I'm not wearing my Cap shirt, but other than being Team Underoos, were you guys Team Stark or Team Cap?
No, dude. I was team. I don't know. I was Team Cap because of like the principle of the matter, but I wanted to be Team Iron Man because of all the cool new guys, right?
Yeah,
Iron
Man had the team.
Yeah.
He had the crew. Like, not gonna lie, between Black Panther, Spider-Man, Vision, I was like Team Iron Man as a group, but Team Cap principles, just like you were saying. Then
I was 100% behind Team Cap before the movie, watching the movie, and then after the movie, I was still 100% Team Cap. Mostly because
stick to your guns.
Anything anti-government, I'm 100% on. There's too much oversight on everything in the world, and this movie really drew on a lot of the real-world issues that, how much power, control, and influence should the government have over your daily life, and the fact that this really took that concept and ran with it, and really made it the decisive or divisive point between the group was fantastic, and fundamentally Team Cap all the way.
And even if you picked your side, you can't deny this movie did a great job of, you're like, I'm on Team Cap, but Tony, I get you.
Oh,
I understand where you're coming from. I don't think you're a bad guy, and everything that's led to where you are right now, I get why you're doing what you're doing.
There's a lot of internal struggle watching the movie because you felt for Iron Man because he believed in his core he was doing it for the right reason, and he wanted to do this because he knew it was right. And in his core,
I guess we are advertising for
it. He did want to do it because that's what he believed. The same way that Cap believed the other way, Iron Man believed this way. And when you get down to fundamental belief systems and what your core value is, that separates people all over the world every day. And in the movie, it really was brought home because they are close friends who are on the same side but have a different view of it, and it tore them apart. So.
And what really does bring frustration in a lot of topic between two people that really believe what they're talking about? Politics.
Oh,
the politics of something when I could be talking to you, or you could be talking to me, and then you'll say something, and I'll totally disagree with it, and I'll like really believe it. We could get like frustrated, and then it's just like it's like but I don't want to talk about it, something like that.
And then to pile that into an election year, when politics are all over the place already.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just piling on.
I will say I don't see either of these guys as Trump.
Well, okay,
Ross, General Ross could be Trump.
Let's just say that with most other topics, like if we were talking about this movie and there's something that you didn't like about it, and I could explain why I liked it, and you could be more like, I kind of get it. People aren't really willing to move with that on politics. They got their opinion, and they're like holding on to it like it's a personal,
which is a huge
religion.
theme, is not moving.
Yeah, exactly.
In this movie,
exactly, and you can see it a lot, so it's great. Anyway,
can I really quickly ask, have either of you read Civil War?
I have not.
I tried reading it when you first told me about it on YouTube pages, but
Oh,
I couldn't. Yeah.
There's a video you can watch. It's like panel by panel with music on it. You can kind of read it on YouTube, and that's how I read it originally. But I've read it since. So I might have a little bit of that insight going through the review, kind of comparing, contrasting to the original comic. I know they varied off a little bit. This movie is definitely a sequel to Winter Soldier.
Absolutely.
In several ways, but both thematically too. Like, you remember when Nick Fury was introducing all the helicarriers to Cap, he's like, this isn't freedom, this is fear. And that's the moment where he's kind of seeing the issue with government oversight, like you were saying. And did anybody change teams between start to finish?
Yes.
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 You did. I thought you were Team Cap.
Or no,
Oh,
sorry.
I thought you were talking about
Yeah,
the movie.
I
I was like, I thought we were doing.
I thought you were
spoilers
referencing
right
the
now.
characters.
Yeah,
Some of
okay,
the characters got pulled a little back and forth.
No, I meant like with who your loyalties lied with. Did that change at all throughout the movie?
No, I was. I mean, like, principally, I was with Cap the whole way.
I empathized a lot with Iron Man,
Oh, for sure.
but
yeah.
you can feel for somebody and try and understand their side and their thought process, but without sacrificing your own value and your own belief on it. And you felt for Iron Man, and the more the movie went on, you felt for him even more,
Right.
especially as it gets later in the movie. But then at the same time, you're still like, you can't still sway on your belief and your feeling.
Right. I had to be with Cap, which is, don't move in what you believe in. I went into the movie Team Cap, like 3/4 of the movie. I was easily Team Cap. That last chunk, no spoilers, but I'm like, I'm still Team Cap, but man, Tony guy.
With no spoilers, your heart breaks for Tony.
No,
Yeah.
for sure.
Such a good, the emotional build-up in this movie.
This might be the
they
most
nailed it.
emotional Marvel film.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
There's something incredibly complex and intimate about friendship. And when friendship starts to break up, and you have to see people who've been together for so long and been fighting together for so long and been through a lot of really difficult things as a team, and have that pulled apart, it pulls at your heartstrings really badly.
It does.
As you're watching, and like I said, you empathize. Your heart breaks for both of them, really, in the whole process. Even Bucky throughout the movie, because of what he's gone through. And
Oh yeah, he's a victim.
being a victim, having done terrible things, but being partially a victim because of the way it was done to him.
And remembering all of it and having no control of it. It's just
Absolutely horrible.
I had a
It
thought,
wasn't you,
and I lost a
but
thought.
I did them. Yeah.
Yeah.
So then, as far as generally speaking, without any spoilers, what did you guys really like and appreciate about the film?
The characters all worked well together. There wasn't anybody introduced and injected into the movie that didn't make sense. They didn't work well. And nobody got an excessive amount of screen time that was not balanced with everybody else. The balance of character use and development was very good. Even the new ones who were introduced in a way that you got to know them quickly. You understood where they were coming from, and they didn't get lost in the shuffle. So the characters were fantastic, especially the new characters. They interjected Black Panther and Spider-Man
Quickly, but it wasn't rushed. It didn't seem like it. There are a lot of characters in this film, more so.
The story
than-
lent to bringing on some people without needing too much explanation.
Which is, I mean, it's insane to me that you could have all these different characters and all these different stories going on, and then still focus around the main story without doing massive back and forth scene jumps that were crazy. So it was really good. Batman versus Superman.
Oh, I was
So-
gonna say is I don't, because I've seen a lot of reviews and people are constantly comparing this to Batman v Superman because there's a lot of thematical similarities and things like that. I understand that. The one thing I want to say is, like, people say, like, don't put all these characters in a movie because they feel shoehorned, it feels rushed. In BVS, I kind of felt that, but the Russo brothers, they just know how to do it. There's nobody that felt shoehorned, nobody that felt rushed in there. It all felt just smooth and it flowed like the comics did and how comics are written. And
To be fair, too, we also haven't seen the extended cut of Batman.
That
versus
is
Superman.
true. That is valid. I hope it helps. I don't think it'll perfect it, but hopefully it helps.
They'd have to add about a good 30 to 40 minutes to the movie.
It's going to be at least 30.
it's possible it might put some things right, but it's still
There's some things that you
some
can't
things that-
undo.
yeah.
There's
exactly.
a reason that a lot of people like this and a lot of people didn't like that.
Sure.
Yeah.
I liked them both, but this much more clearly.
Right.
However, in defense of Batman v Superman, that was their first attempt at a team movie. This is what, number 5, where you've got a whole bunch of people all the same one together.
They tried to do it in 2 movies versus.
And most of the
5,
characters
I think.
have been previously introduced. They
Yes.
only introduced a few characters, right? Spider-Man, Black Panther. That's it, right?
And then
Martin
some-
Freeman.
Martin Freeman, the
Yeah.
villain, obviously
Yeah,
Zemo.
Zemo.
Thematically, so the things that I really liked about the movie, I loved, like you said, the chemistry between the characters was really great. I loved just the story, the scripting was very good, the screenwriting. You have Marcus and Mafeely on this movie, and I think they've done all 3 Captain Americas. And to me, and I know there's people going to debate this because there's so many people that are just, freaking on the Batman bandwagon, but this is my favorite superhero trilogy out of everything that's come before it. Like,
It just came back to me. Something I really liked about the movie. This might have been the best I've seen in a long time in foreshadowing. The early stuff in the movie really plays such a strong role in the movie development and the character development later. Zemo listening to the voicemail and how that plays out that later in the movie without giving spoilers as to what that actually is. The car accident at the very beginning and finding out what that really is later in the movie. The foreshadowing early in that movie was just pristine. It did such a great job. Later in the movie, it really brought something.
And it's great because it's there and you see it, but it's not necessarily in your face like foreshadowing. Here
No,
it is.
they kinda-
it's very subtle and very well done.
they give you some, like, they just drop some things in front of you to kind of marinate, and they leave you in the dark. And I at first, when I was watching the movie, I didn't like it, but once it wraps up, I appreciated it because I was watching it. I'm like, why do you keep showing me this? Why do you keep showing me this? Like, it's not making sense to me. I don't know why we're taking time here. And then you get the payoff, and you're like,
A lot of the things too, it doesn't just talk about once, or it'll show you once, and then they'll like talk about it later, and you're like, what do you want from this?
Right.
And then it turns out to culminate pretty well.
I definitely want to bring foreshadowing back in when we get into spoilers because it's really hard to like talk about how great the foreshadowing is without hinting at what the payoff is.
Well, all you got to do is say that it was great. If you haven't seen it, it's great. It's really good.
So what would you guys, without details, improve on with the movie? Because I think it's great. I do not think it's flawless.
No,
but rarely is a movie flawless.
That's a good question. I watched the movie very objectively, and I really liked most of what I saw. So again, the airport fight scene, which is like the big second act piece that's just crazy. The destruction of so much stuff so simply. It just kind of like, again, we're back into a thing. Granted, they kept it confined to an airport
That was abandoned.
which helps, but at the same time, it's okay. We're again back into the mode of just demolishing mountains of stuff.
It was true. And I was about to make like several comments of like how they destroyed stuff and why, but I was just let's get into spoilers again. I will say that Marvel is notorious, if you look at the grand scheme of all their movies, for having semi-weak villains, and I don't really feel like Zemo was an exception. I understood him. I understood the motivation and things, but I feel like there's ways you could have removed him from this movie and gotten close to the same results.
I don't think so at all.
No,
I completely disagree.
Well, the catalyst for that fight could have been brought about without Zemo. Like, that reveal could have happened without him. Like, you could have gone a different way. He seemed like a plot
I
device.
think it was I don't think it works because the whole thing was.
Yeah, I know, right? You can't. I understand. We can just say that we disagree on Zemo.
Let's just say I think you could have gotten there. You would not have gotten there as emotionally
Right.
and really tied in. So and the villain in this movie, while Zemo was the villain, he was the puppet master villain. He wasn't, apart from a little bit of dirty work, he wasn't doing everything. He created basically the villain between the two heroes, battling each other. The whole Civil War concept is the fact that they take opposite sides of the same thing. So in Cap's eyes, Iron Man is becoming part villain. In Iron Man's eyes, Cap's becoming part villain because they both fundamentally are on the opposite side. Zemo is the puppet master.
When I look back at the film, I almost view, I know he's not a bad guy, but I almost view General Ross as like more of a villain than I saw Zemo. Like I hated him more watching the movie.
Oh, I just dislike William Hurt anyways, but
I think it's fine casting for that role.
the fact
He's
is,
got
but
the perfect face that you're just like,
Yeah,
you shut up.
You shut up.
I think later on down the road, probably the next couple movies, his character, almost like he's stepping in, and now Nick Fury's out, and he's going to be that guy, kind of controlling the action from a distance.
I would love to see a lot more Martin Freeman.
Yes,
Oh,
we
Martin
will.
Freeman was.
We're going to.
Yeah, he was great.
So,
Do you guys know anything about Red Hulk, really quick?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
No.
I hope. So bad.
Oh, please.
General Ross turns into Red Hulk
No.
in the comics,
Yeah.
and even if it's for a brief bit, I would love to see that.
So, I did actually have a problem that there are no spoilers with, and it's not really a big deal, but when you look at like all the powers displayed with all the other characters, Scarlet Witches clearly look like mutant CGI, like from the X-Men movies.
It didn't. I did not pick up on that, to be fair.
So I get she's an Inhuman, but she's a mutant. So when she's using her
She's
powers,
an enhanced.
Yeah.
she's an enhanced human being. When she's using her powers, it looks a lot like the effects that they used to display the powers of a mutant in the X-Men franchise.
To be fair, we also don't have or haven't seen any characters like Scarlet Witch, so we don't really have a comparison in the Marvel universe for what that should look
Right,
like.
so I was actually just thinking that. I was thinking like, well, Iron Man, his blasts, they're all,
It's different.
technology. And then I'm thinking about like all the stuff in Guardians of the Galaxy.
If you look
really,
at the Infinity,
haven't,
sorry.
huh? Go for it.
I was gonna say, if you look at the effect of the Infinity Stones and the things that they do, like
Vision.
like the ether in
Right.
Thor,
Yes.
that looks very similar to Scarlet Witch's powers.
Does it?
The way it moves and ebbs and flows and things
Yeah,
like
that's
that
a good
reminds
point.
me a lot of Scarlet Witch. So I don't think that it's I think that we've seen stuff like that. I think it's correlates with the Infinity Stones and how their powers look.
Okay. Yeah, I can see that. I'm just thinking like when I was watching the film, it was very different.
It
From
stands
everything else
out.
that's going on. It stands out a lot.
Sure.
But and then it does really remind me of mutant powers.
Right. I would agree that it stands out, but I also think that it reminds me of the Infinity Stones, which makes sense because that's where her power originated from.
Sure.
Was the
Of course.
Mind Stone.
I will say also the
I don't know why. I
with
overlooked
the whole Mind Stone Vision's character development becoming much more human.
Yes.
The longer he goes, the more
I
human
love Vision.
he's becoming. And Paul Bettany, what a perfect pick for that.
Amazing
role.
casting.
Man, like spot on.
Can you imagine anybody else doing it now?
No, absolutely not.
Yeah.
No, he's perfect for it. And he's smart. He's eloquent. And for having the Mind Stone, he's thoughtful.
Yes.
You know, he really his comment on wanting to understand the Mind Stone and what it is, not just that he has it, but understand its powers, so that maybe he could actually. He did use the word control it at some point.
Until Thanos rips it out of his head.
Well, maybe that'll be the one that he can't get.
That doesn't happen, by the way. Not yet.
No. Yeah. Oh, good point. No. But yeah, Vision's character development was awesome. But to see that Scarlet Witch's powers, as they line up opposite and sides from each other,
Sure.
Scarlet Witch is the one person who has the ability to offset what he can do.
I mean, pardon. Okay, nope. I was going to talk about what Scarlet Witch does, but I can't.
Yeah, you want to just kind of.
Well, I still got a couple
Okay.
couple more things, but I agree about everything with Scarlet Witch. Which characters do you guys highlighted shined the most, and is there any that you felt really got the shaft as far as screen time or performance?
No, I think for the movie, it felt very balanced for the people's screen time. I wanted more of Black Panther and more of Spider-Man.
Sure.
But that's
of
just
course.
'cause they
I
did
wanted
so
more
well.
Ant-Man.
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. They
But it was nice. It wasn't like they weren't there. It
Correct. You got a decent amount,
yeah.
and you got to see them in a little more personable light. Plus, than their action ability, you got the feel from Spider-Man that he actually was the teenage Spider-Man that he's supposed to be.
Yeah.
It was.
By the way, it's
such a good
unbelievable. Spider-Man, you're gonna love it. There's a reason both of us are wearing Spider-Man shirts. So
Sporting it today. Tom Holland, when he was initially cast, was like, man, this kid's young.
well, I was thinking he looked kind of weird. You know,
Yeah.
a little-
Yeah, I was with you on that.
Yeah.
And then I'll be honest, the initial trailers showed the suit. I don't know if it wasn't finished. There's a lot of commentary
Yeah.
on our webpage about
Even
that.
at TV spots, I kept saying, I was like, this looks like an inflatable. Like, why is the CGI so off?
In the movie, it worked.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't notice it at
Yeah.
all.
No, in the movie, it was absolutely awesome. And the casting seems to be spot on for him, and it felt good. I mean, he has the attitude, the mannerisms, the awkward social settings, not knowing what to say or what not to say.
Right.
He was well done in that.
Yeah.
And you got to see also Black Panther.
Chadwick nailed it. Crushed it.
I'll be honest. So every time one of these characters for the casting comes up of a martial artist style black male, a lot of people always go, "Oh, Michael Jai White."
Yes.
Every time, Michael Jai White.
He's almost
ever
too
since
big.
Spawn, is too big. And
yeah.
when they said Chadwick Boseman, the only thing I'd seen him in was
42?
Okay, yes,
James
42,
Brown.
the James Brown movie, Get On Up, and he was fantastic in that. But obviously, had slimmed way down to play James Brown. Didn't really see him in the physicality role of Black Panther. He was fantastic.
yeah, absolutely.
And it was one of those things where you see the casting, and again, Marvel once again
Knows
cast
better than
somebody,
us.
and you're like, wow, this seems like a little bit weird fit, and it was perfect. You couldn't have picked a better person to play the role.
Absolutely.
To be the defender.
There's a lot of
can-
perfect casting in this. I'm pretty sure. I don't know. Anyway,
Chris Evans he's a good actor, and he, like we talked about earlier in this, the character development, like he really has owned and become Captain America.
I always like to think of little skinny Steve and then Civil War Steve and like everything that's happened.
The CGI of shrinking down Steve Rogers in the first Avenger was like, this guy looks really creepy. But then you see him after the super serum, you're like, holy crap. And in this movie, in the helicopter scene, when he's on the helipad,
Bicep porn.
and he's doing the curl and holding it like in the wicked pose.
I was almost
His
around.
arms, yeah. I was like, are you kidding me? He's clearly he put in the work.
Oh,
And
yeah.
he had guns the size of Thor. I mean,
Yeah.
he was Hemsworth big in this.
Yeah. He cheats. He's a god. It doesn't count.
That's he doesn't have to, but obviously you could tell Cap put in the time and effort. He looked physical for this role. He has in the other ones as well, but he really brought it in this, especially that one moment right there when he's all flexed out trying to hold down a helicopter was pretty impressive.
And not a spoiler because you saw it in the trailer.
Yeah, exactly.
And I would also like to throw in there really quick, as being somebody that was just moderately enthused after seeing Ant-Man, I thought it was a decent movie, but it didn't I wasn't like, this is the next best Marvel movie. I was just like, it was a good movie. Paul Rudd is awesome in this movie. This is the best he's been. I think I like his whatever 20 minutes or whatever in this movie more than the entirety of Ant-Man. I mean, that's my opinion. I know that some people probably really liked Ant-Man.
I really liked seeing him more in this, and I think there was a lot more when he's mixed in with all the other characters. His comedic effect is a lot better.
Right, yeah.
Yes.
But I did really enjoy Ant-Man.
Yes.
I thought it was a good film.
I think it was as good as it needed to be. One of my only problems going into that, and I don't want to go on a tangent, but it's just I wanted Hank Pym for Ant-Man, and the fact that it's Scott Lang is interesting and fine, but it threw me off.
It always makes you think what in the comic book universe. There's so many iterations of everybody. You know, if you go to DC, they could pick from anything for as far as what they want to do to Superman. And if you go to Marvel, well, they could pick from, or especially X-Men, they could pick almost anything they want to do with a lot of these characters. And the fact that almost every one of these guys has multiple series and versions of their own self. The fact that they did go with Scott Lang as opposed to Hank Pym, it was when it first came out, and I was like, okay, Hank Pym's the older guy, the creator, and they got to hand off the mantle, which is kind of a cool effect. The fact that he can't be him, so he's got to give it to someone else, is something that I hadn't really thought about in any of the other versions.
I hope we get more flashbacks in the next one.
That would be cool. We'll see. I mean, Marvel clearly knows what they're doing, and they're doing it well. The question is, where do they go now?
Yeah.
So.
And then, just did you have anything else to add about characters shine? Yeah, actually, go ahead. Yeah, if you had anything you could think of.
No, I just want to add how much Spider-Man was awesome. I do want to say, even though we've seen Cap in several other movies, he's got a lot of character development in this one as well, too.
They nailed... He's had more consistent character development, I think, than almost any other character. I wanted to say one of the only characters, and it's not really like a hero character, but somebody that I wish would have gotten like an extra scene or two is actually Martin Freeman.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
It's like you cast a phenomenal actor that's from The Hobbit, from Sherlock, but I will say also that I couldn't focus.
There's a future with him.
Oh yeah, Everett Ross
sure.
is set up to be in multiple other things, but I will say that every scene that he was in, I couldn't focus on, and I was talking to Tyler a little bit about this because I'm so used to seeing him in all these British roles and things, and him with an American accent threw me for such a loop that I couldn't listen to anything else going on. I was just focused on his...
It's kind of like watching the trailer for Doctor Strange and hearing Benedict Cumberbatch speaking in English or American accent.
His
You're
voice
like,
is crazy.
When I first listened to it, I'm like, who's speaking?
Yeah.
Yeah,
And then
you realize
you made a comment on Facebook when you posted it, and I'm like, I had to go back and listen again. I'm like, okay, I thought somebody else was voicing over, and you didn't really hear anything from Cumberbatch. Didn't even register the fact that he was using an American accent.
It's a weird American
sounds
accent.
So not Cumberbatch. Same thing with Freeman.
The
Freeman didn't
inflections are
sound
there.
like himself.
Yeah.
Especially from watching the Hobbit movies, and as the sidekick on Sherlock, he has such a smooth delivery with his lines. Even when he's stumbling over himself, he's just good. In this, the American accent just it was a little strange. It was like you're watching somebody and listening to someone
That's
else.
exactly how I felt. That's what was distracting. I mean, it's not a con, obviously, because he's just playing his role. But when you're so used to something like that, and I've seen Benedict Cumberbatch do a Boston accent, but I've never seen him do a straight up American
What
New
does he
York
do a
accent.
Boston accent in?
Black Mass.
Oh, I have not seen that.
Yeah, Black Mass was very good. But so I think the last question before we can move on to spoilers is, where does this rank? This is a hard question in your pantheon of Marvel films that we've all gotten to see.
What was that again? I'm sorry.
Where do you rank the movie as far as in your top?
Right
three?
now, I have to see it again for sure. I have to see it again because there's a lot that's missing my registration. Really.
Sure.
But right now, I'm looking at an 8.5 or a 9. It was really good.
Yeah.
I would rate it probably the same, between 8 and 9, closer to 9, I'd say. And as far as the ranking amongst other Marvel movies, it's Winter Soldier is probably the best as far as a quality movie.
For sure.
That's up there, and this is. I have to obviously watch it again and kind of get a feel and digest it a little bit more because I just saw it yesterday. Yeah. But it's one of the closest to Winter Soldier. Clearly, that's why we talked about the fact that the Captain America trilogy is one of the best trilogies. This movie, Winter Soldier, as far as not just action, just a good movie. It gets your brain, good story, everything.
Absolutely.
And you don't have Civil War without Winter Soldier.
Exactly. That's why you put them into a trilogy. They're fantastic. But this is probably one of the closest to ranking up with Winter Soldier near the top. I'm sure there are some other ones that... And everyone's got their own individual feel for which ones they like and why they like which ones. But this is good.
I definitely feel like when you're going with individual hero movies, just the separate ones, Captain America movies, both the First Avenger and Winter Soldier, I think as individual stories, those are better. But if you group this with all the rest of them, and I'm comparing this to the Avengers and especially Age of Ultron, this is much better than Age of Ultron.
Oh, absolutely.
For sure. And
Age
this
of
is much
Ultron
better
had
than
we could have sat down after Age of Ultron and the list of what was wrong with the movie. I could have gone on
Ultron.
for a good 15 minutes. Yeah,
In the title.
yeah.
But clearly, I don't have a whole lot of bad to say about this film. And like I said, I have to see it another time for sure. But no, it's definitely one of their best for sure.
I think I line up with you guys pretty well, and I have an unwavering 9 out of 10. And it's just minute issues that take off that 1 point. And as far as where it compares to other movies, This question keeps getting harder with the more quality that Marvel pumps out, but I have such a hard time because I want to put the original Avengers in a different category. Because there's something that will always be nostalgic to us, that will always be special about that movie that you cannot replace, you cannot redo. It is what it was, and it can't really be
It was
replicated.
fantastic.
Yeah.
You know? I was just thinking about that too. I was like thinking, do I really want to compare this to the first Avengers though? Because I'm thinking like about both of them right now, and they were both like equally amazing when you're thinking about them together
And seeing the characters interact with each other for the first time. I think what we can do though is think as like movie critics, which is what I'm trying to do, and objectively take the movies and their content. What's a better movie? I think Civil War is a better movie. But I also thought Winter Soldier was a better movie than the Avengers too, quality-wise. So I think they're kind of neck and neck. I give a hair to Winter Soldier, I think, and I put Civil War right at number 2. But it's like by 1% maybe. I got more enjoyment.
You like Winter Soldier more than you like Civil War.
That much.
Like I said,
they're about even.
Yeah, the standalone films, they do more for they don't feel like just superhero movies to me. Whereas Civil War, I mean, it's supposed to be a Captain America film, but it feels like an Avengers film.
Yeah.
And it feels like a total superhero movie. Captain America, though, I don't know. I like Civil War.
I can say for this reason, Winter Soldier, I think you could show to anybody, and they'd be like, "This is a pretty good movie. Like this is a good story."
You don't have to like superheroes to like that movie.
Civil War hangs on Winter Soldier. If you have not seen Winter Soldier, if you have not seen Age of Ultron, Civil War doesn't stand on its own.
Sure.
And that's why I give a slight edge to Winter
Way
Soldier.
more characters. If you don't have the background character development and knowing what's happening, you could get lost in this one as far as who all these people are. Winter Soldier, it was Cap trying to find Bucky. And the characters they did interject, they introduced properly, Falcon, some of the other guys. And you're right, it does hinge on that one piece. And as far as the versus the first event or the Avengers movie, the first Avengers movie, that the one thing that had that this one probably didn't have was a little more comic relief, much like Hulk smashing Loki into the floor repeatedly.
Yeah.
That had more of that feel. This didn't have much apart from the couple minutes with Scott Lang or Ant-Man and Spidey. There wasn't as much kind of threaded throughout the movie. It came in that one little cluster, and once that was gone, the comic relief wasn't really there. So it's a heavy movie.
I will disagree with you when we go into spoilers. But,
I was gonna say, like, I don't know if this is a spoiler there, but can you move your seat up? No.
Oh, yeah. All right, that's a good point. Yeah. Oh, when they're both in there just nodding.
Come on, man. Yeah. Yeah, no, you're right. You're definitely right. It is mostly in that scene, but there is a little bit there.
Marvel is evolving overall. So I just think that thematically they have to have some depth and weight and can't be as lighthearted as they started out.
Can I say one more thing real quick about something that I think the movies have gotten so heavy on the impact that the actions of the heroes have had on the world and the weight that carries. And I understand that they're trying to address that in the right way, and that's why they keep sending them to abandoned places. That's why it's abandoned island in Batman v Superman and an abandoned dock in Gotham or harbor. And in this movie, it's an abandoned warehouse or airport. They're trying to get them away from mainline places to separate that. But I also feel like it's a superhero movie. I suspended a lot of reality to believe that person could fly.
Yeah.
I'm going to believe that all those buildings fell, or some of them fell with no bodies in them, in some of the instances. But they've begun to use that as such a thread for these movies that it feels like they just keep beating it up.
Right.
And that might be one of the things that I feel like we're continuing to hound these people with, hey, your actions have consequences. Your actions have consequences. They do. But it's become this ongoing theme that keeps getting rehashed over and over again.
I think for Batman v Superman, it almost bugged me because it's like collateral damage that they had no control over. Like, Man of Steel, I felt like he had no control in that fight, no say in that fight. For Avengers, Loki came with the aliens because S.H.I.E.L.D. messed with the Tesseract. Their fault. Ultron happened because Iron Man wanted to play with the Mind Stone. His fault. So it's like the Avengers are like cleaning up or trying to clean up their own messes, and people are dying in the process. And I felt where as DC, the fight's coming to them, and it's not. Well, actually, it kind of was Superman's fault because he turned on that ship, but it was. I don't know.
Well, it still falls between he and Lex Luthor, but either way.
Yes.
The vision that gave the argument that their very existence is bringing catastrophe.
Yeah, and it was really well spoken
Yeah.
and done. And you're like, oh,
Well, that's the whole thing. I don't know if you've ever watched Dragon Ball Z.
Oh, absolutely.
But the reason Goku chooses not to come back to life after Cell is defeated is because, like, look at all these people. They're coming after me.
yeah.
You know? So maybe if I just stay out here, Earth will be safe for a little bit. And it was for 7 years. So kind of interesting point.
And they kind of made that point at the end of the first Avengers. Nick Fury says it's like, well, when he's talking to the World Council, he's like, they said the Avengers are dangerous. He's like, yes, they are. The whole world knows it. Like, all worlds know it. And it's like their first fight just welcomed fights from like across the galaxy to come and bring the war to our front doorstep.
I guess I'll finish with this saying that then the great thing about this movie is the fight didn't come from anywhere else. It was from in between.
Yeah.
Inside. They got away from the... If I see one more movie with a portal from outer space coming through the sky, I might lose it. Ninja Turtles. Jeez Louise.
Krang!
Yeah, but...
Krang is so ugly, dude.
Yeah, but
that guy is a freak.
The skies opening up
Yeah.
and people coming through portals has been rehashed over and over. Independence Day is
Fantastic
coming
Four.
soon. Granted, that's a ship landing on. But it's this theme of how do we introduce them? Well, just portal them in. And this got away from any of that outside stuff, and it really, and maybe that's why this one's so good, is the internal struggle, and the battle in this one has nothing to do with this army over there or that army over there. It's all about these dudes right here and their fundamental differences.
I hope they
In
bring
modern times, though, I would think that people are more likely to believe that an alien race would come through us through like dimensional hopping rather than like just a straight shot.
That's a valid point. They do got to cover a lot of distance.
Well, you got to suspend some sort of reality for these. Obviously, there's no superheroes or anything, but
What?
they want. Wait a minute.
Why am I wearing this shirt?
I gotta get that costume out of my closet. But you do want some sort of believability about it, which is why a lot of Batman versus Superman.
God damn it.
So-
I hope they don't take too long in the Infinity War movies to bring the fight to Thanos. Let me see some cosmic battling
I heard
with
that
Guardians and...
Infinity War is going to be retitled.
Well, yeah, nobody wants a part 1, part 2. And the Russos say that each movie's going to stand on its own. There just might be a continuous, like...
Okay.
through line, but yeah, they're going to retitle. I think it should be Infinity Gauntlet, Infinity War. That's what you title it. That's what the books were. It's the progression. I think Infinity Gauntlet should focus on the Avengers, and then Infinity War is when you bring in Guardians, because they need cosmic help. But anyways, veering off, we all agree. Well, you said 8.59?
I'll lean closer to 9. I'll give
Close.
it a 9.
Okay, 9.
Closer to 9, but yeah.
9.
8.5.
Okay, 9. So it's 999, 999.
That's 2 9s we've given in a row, by the way.
Oh, Jungle Book was so good.
It was great.
Did you see it?
I haven't seen it. I'm taking
We need to see a movie that's just absolute dog shit, so we don't just look like yes men.
Netflix is loaded with them.
Ridiculous 6.
Oh god, there's things coming out this summer that I can guarantee are not going to be so great. But I think
I'm sure we're gonna have a lot of problems with Apocalypse, though I'm hoping that I enjoy it.
Unless Mystique dies, you're probably gonna have a lot of problems with that.
I think we need Scott back for the X-Men
Yes.
Apocalypse review. We're kind of ripping a new one.
I think we might do a review and then talk about the entire franchise
There
as
we
a whole.
Oh, that'd be great.
No.
Anyway,
We could go on for an hour on that.
But so we'll. What's that? Yeah,
we do? Okay.
I'm gonna close this video. We're gonna close the video down. End the non-spoiler topic. So be sure that once you have gone out and see the movie, which should be immediately, I think we all agree on that. I need you to come back and watch our spoiler review, which we'll get started on here in a little bit. And then make sure to also like, comment, and subscribe on the videos. Share it with your friends, whether you liked it, whether you didn't. I don't care. Do it anyways. And we will see you at the spoiler review. So until then, This is Jesse, Tyler, and Scott. May the film be with you.